My wife snapped, "I'm done being a wife. Deal with it." After months of distance and late-night team events, so I dealt with it. With the prenup her own father made me sign. Sup Reddit. My wife told me to deal with our dead marriage after she turned it into a roommate situation. Then I found out she'd been cheating the whole time, so I dealt with it. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the shit show. Name's Alan, 36 male. Been married to Blair for 8 years. She's 33. First 3 or 4 years were solid. We bought a fixer-upper in Riverside, one of those 1980s split levels. Spent weekends knocking down walls, refinishing hardwood, learning to tile from YouTube. We'd cook dinner most nights. Normal married people stuff. I'm an industrial welder at a manufacturing plant. Been there 11 years. Worked my way up from general labor. It's solid work. Decent pay. Union benefits. I know steel, aluminum, fabrication. I can TIG weld stainless steel pipe in my sleep. Blair's a senior recruiter at a consulting firm downtown. Different worlds, but it worked for a while. She'd tell me about placing candidates. I'd tell her about the moron who nearly blew up the acetylene tanks. We had our thing going. Around year 4, stuff started changing. She got promoted to lead recruiter, started pulling crazy hours, more networking events, more late nights at downtown restaurants with colleagues. I picked up overtime welding custom projects, so at first I didn't think much of it. We were both grinding, but the distance grew. Our routine started crumbling. Dinner together went from nightly to occasional to me eating frozen pizza alone at 10 p.m. while she texted that she was networking with clients. Date nights I'd planned would get canceled last minute. I'd book tickets to a concert she'd been talking about for weeks, clear my calendar, tell my supervisor I needed the night off, and then get a text 3 hours before showtime that she had to attend some work thing. Except I'd see it on her Instagram later that night, her and 6 coworkers at some rooftop restaurant downtown. I tried to be understanding. She had goals, ambition. I wasn't going to be that husband who held her back, but it wasn't just the schedule. She changed. The way she looked at me changed. Used to be she'd smile when I came home covered in metal dust and welding flash burns. Now she barely looked up. I'd walk through the door and get maybe a glance before she went back to her phone. The real change came when Tatiana showed up about 18 months ago. Tatiana worked at Blair's firm, some senior consultant position. Divorced 3 times by 45, always talking about not needing men and living your best life. She started coming over all the time, or they'd video chat for hours. I'd be in the garage working on a project, and I'd hear them through the window. "You make more than him anyway. Blue-collar guys have no drive. You're wasting your potential in a dead-end marriage." Every time Blair hung out with Tatiana, she'd come back colder. Started saying stuff like, "I need to prioritize myself," and "I refuse to settle anymore." I didn't even know what she thought she was settling for. I did my own laundry, cooked half the time, and maintained everything in the house. I tried everything to save us. Booked a lakeside cabin weekend. She canceled the morning we left for some conference. I suggested we talk. She said I was overthinking. I brought home her favorite takeout. She'd eat it scrolling her phone. Nothing worked. Our intimate life went from regular to occasional to non-existent over 6 months. She moved into the spare bedroom. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and hear her laughing on the phone. When I asked who, she'd snap it was a West Coast placement. The house became a storage unit where we kept our stuff and occasionally ran into each other. I kept thinking it was temporary, but normal never came back. My older sister Fiona called around this time. She's 39, pharmaceutical sales, sharpest tongue in 3 counties. She'd always been skeptical of Blair. When I mentioned things were rough, she didn't hold back. "Your wife's checked out, bro. Wake up." I told her she was being dramatic. She laughed and said I'd apologize later. Turns out she was right. 7 months ago, it had been 10 weeks since we'd been intimate. I finally decided to address it. I waited until Saturday morning. She was in the kitchen scrolling her phone. I sat down across from her. "We need to talk about what's happening with us." She didn't even look up. "What about it?" I laid it out calmly. "We're roommates who split expenses. You moved into the spare room months ago. We haven't been intimate in over 2 months. We barely talk anymore. I don't know what we're doing." She set her phone down. Her face was blank. "I'm not sleeping with you anymore. Deal with it. I don't care either way. I'm done pretending to be some housewife for a guy who can't give me the life I deserve. The life she deserves. I'm paying half the mortgage, doing half the housework, maintaining everything she breaks or ignores, fixing the disposal when she jams it, unclogging the drains, changing the furnace filters, and apparently that's not good enough for her. No emotion. No explanation beyond that insult. I looked at her. She seemed satisfied, like she'd won something I didn't know we were fighting over. "All right," I said. "I'll deal with it." She nodded, picked up her phone, and walked back to her room. That was it. She probably thought I'd finally accepted her new setup, that I'd just keep living there, paying half the mortgage, maintaining my side of the house, staying out of her way while she did whatever she wanted with whoever she wanted. She had no clue what I meant by deal with it. That night, I called Dante, best friend since we were 16. He's a heavy equipment operator, straightforward guy. I told him everything. He listened, then said exactly what I needed to hear. Get out before you lose your mind. You can crash in my spare room. I packed a duffel bag that night. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, tools. Wrote a note on the kitchen counter. You wanted space. Here it is. Don't contact me unless absolutely necessary. Left at 5 a.m. before she woke up. First thing that morning, I opened a new bank account. Rerouted my direct deposit. Calculated my exact share from our joint account. Withdrew it. And left her portion untouched. Everything documented. Then I scheduled an appointment with a divorce attorney for Monday. Dante's place was near the industrial park. Dante worked rotating shifts. We'd sit on his couch, watch games, order Chinese, talk about normal stuff. Blair texted a few times that first week. All business. The mortgage is due. Water bill came. She seemed mildly surprised I left but didn't ask me to come back. Didn't apologize for anything she'd said. Just sent updates like I was a former roommate. My appointment with the attorney was Thursday morning. Dante came with me to the office. The lawyer was Carter, recommended by Dante's brother. His office was on 4th Street. We sat down in his office. I brought every financial document I could find. Bank statements, mortgage papers, retirement accounts, tax returns, everything. Started explaining the situation. About 12 minutes in, he stopped me. Did you sign a prenuptial agreement? I nodded. Yeah, I brought it. Her dad insisted before the wedding. Now here's the thing. Blair's dad is an investment banker type. Works at some wealth management firm. Very protect the family assets kind of guy. When we got engaged, he insisted I sign a prenup. Standard stuff about keeping premarital assets separate, clear property division. I didn't think much about it. Wasn't marrying her for money. So I signed it without reading too deep. Figured it would never matter. I pulled the folder and handed it over. Carter started reading. About 6 minutes in, he stopped, leaned back, then smiled. Alan, there's an infidelity clause in this prenup. I wasn't following. Meaning what? If either party can be proven to have had an affair, that person gets nothing from the joint assets and no spousal support. He let that sink in. I thought about the late nights, the distance, how she changed after Tatiana, the work trips, the hidden texts, the 3 a.m. phone calls. Then I remembered something. We had an old tablet at home. Used it for recipes years ago. It had been sitting in a drawer, forgotten. When we set it up, we used our shared cloud account. If she'd been messaging someone and that tablet was still connected, everything would sync there. Carter caught my expression. Don't break any laws. Don't worry, I won't. I left his office with a plan. Blair had a 4-day work trip to Atlanta coming up. The house would be empty. I still had a key. That week dragged. I went to work, welded, tried to focus. Came back to Dante's, ate dinner, pretended to watch TV. Part of me hoped I wouldn't find anything. But the part that watched her disconnect for 18 months knew better. Wednesday evening, she texted she was boarding her flight. I waited until 10 p.m., then drove to the house. I found the tablet in the drawer. Plugged it in. Took 30 minutes to charge and sync. The messaging app had 312 unread messages. Most were spam, but there was a contact saved as just R. I opened it. First message was from 7 months ago, right around the time everything fell apart. Started normal enough, work stuff. Great meeting today. Thanks for the recommendation. Then it shifted fast. Flirtation, inside jokes, mentions of meeting up after recruiting events. Then it got way worse. Messages about hotel rooms, specific dates and times, complaints about me. He's so checked out. We're basically just roommates at this point. He doesn't even try anymore. Funny, considering I was the one trying to book weekends away while she canceled them for conferences, where she was apparently hooking up with her colleague. He'll never find out. He's too focused on his job to notice anything. That one stung. I deserve better than this life. You make me feel alive again. Mentions of coordinating meetings, covering for each other, a trip they took together to Phoenix that I'd been told was a mandatory recruiting conference. She'd even sent me pictures from it, posed in front of the convention center with other recruiters. Turns out half those recruiters weren't at the same hotel. She was with him the whole time. Photos, too. Pictures of them together at restaurants, hotel lounges, what was obviously a hotel room. One picture was taken in our guest room, in our house. The guy's name was Raphael. I recognized him from Blair's work functions I'd been dragged to. One of those senior consultant types who probably thought his suit made him interesting. Always in three-piece get-ups, always had stories about landing major clients. She'd mentioned him before. Raphael thinks we should restructure the team. Raphael suggested a new sourcing strategy. Raphael's really good at client relations. I sat on that kitchen floor and screenshot everything. Every message, every photo, every hotel charge she'd sent him from our joint account. 7 months of documented affair, all there in her own words and transactions. She was too stupid or too arrogant to hide. I forwarded everything to Carter that night. Attached photos, messages, receipts, the whole thing. He called me within 2 hours. This is bulletproof. Combined with the prenup and this evidence, she's walking away with basically nothing. Maybe her retirement account from before the marriage. Are you sure you want to do this? Absolutely, I said. File everything. Fiona called that night. About time. Told you she was trash 6 months ago. This is going to be beautiful. Blair returned from Atlanta on Friday. Didn't mention her trip. Didn't ask about my week. Just texted me about some bills. Asked if I could stop by Sunday morning to handle them, because apparently she couldn't figure out how to pay utilities without me. I drove over Sunday morning. She was waiting. She wanted to talk. Actually gestured for me to sit at the kitchen table like she was conducting a meeting. I was curious where this was going. She launched into this prepared speech about how she'd been thinking during her trip to Atlanta, that maybe we should change our marriage into something more modern and flexible. She literally used the word restructure, like she was presenting a business plan. We split all expenses equally, keep separate schedules, basically function as roommates sharing a property. No expectations, no obligations, no pressure. I'm not into traditional marriage anymore, but we don't need to blow up our entire lives. We keep the house, share expenses, and live independently. If you can adapt to that, we can make it work. She didn't ask where I'd been staying, didn't ask if I was doing okay, just dove straight into her proposal for how I could keep facilitating her comfortable lifestyle while she did whatever she wanted. I looked at her sitting there. She looked completely calm. Hair done, makeup on, wearing one of those outfits that cost more than my weekly paycheck. Like she was negotiating a lease instead of discussing our marriage. I smiled slightly. That sounds workable. I'll need to sort out some logistics, but I think we can make that happen. She looked relaxed. Probably thought she'd successfully manipulated me into accepting her setup, where she got everything she wanted. What she had no idea about was that Carter was finalizing the divorce filing at that exact moment. We were submitting Monday morning with every piece of evidence properly organized. And that conversation, that insulting proposal she just made, only made my decision easier. Monday morning, Carter filed everything. The divorce petition, copies of the prenup with the infidelity clause highlighted, copies of every message and photo and receipt from the tablet. Complete package submitted to the court. Then, because Blair had been so calculating about the roommate proposal, and because Carter wanted to make a point, he arranged for her to be served at her office during business hours, with her entire recruitment team present. Maximum impact. I wasn't there, but Carter's process server reported walking into her office around 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon and delivering the papers in front of her entire recruitment team and at least 2 senior partners. Several people witnessed it. The server heard her gasp when she opened the envelope and saw a petition for dissolution of marriage across the top. She called me 23 times that afternoon. I didn't answer. Let every call go to voicemail. Listened to them later with Dante while we ate pizza. Then she showed up at Dante's apartment around 7 p.m. I was on the couch when the doorbell rang. Dante opened the door. She looked wrecked. Makeup smeared everywhere, eyes red and puffy. She pushed past Dante and spotted me sitting there completely calm. What did you just do to me? You had me served at work, Alan. In front of everyone I work with. Do you understand how humiliating that was? My entire team saw it. The partners saw it. Everyone knows now. I stayed calm, took another bite of pizza. You told me to deal with it. So I dealt with it. By filing for divorce? After 8 years? Because we hit a rough patch? That's when I grabbed the tablet from Dante's coffee table. Opened it to her messages with Raphael. Started slowly scrolling through them without reading them aloud. Just let her watch her own words appear on the screen. Her own photos load one by one. Her face drained of color. Panic, then rage, then back to panic. She lunged for the tablet. Dante moved between us. He didn't touch her, just positioned himself as a wall. How dare you go through my privacy like that? That's illegal. I'll sue you for everything. I'll take the house, I'll take your retirement, It's not private when it's on our shared device, signed into our shared cloud account, located in our shared house, I said. My attorney already verified the legality. Want the statute codes? I can recite them. I showed her the timeline I'd built. She couldn't dispute any of it because it was all her own documentation. Her own words, her own photos, her own transactions from our joint account. Alan, please. It meant nothing. I was confused. Raphael doesn't matter to us. It's already over anyway. We ended it weeks ago. When did it end? I asked. Silence. She just stared at me. Let me guess. It ended about 5 seconds ago when you realized you might actually face consequences instead of just restructuring our arrangement. She started crying, but it was fake. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out. I'll do anything you want. I'll change. I'll be better. No, I said simply. You told me you were done being a wife. You told me to deal with our dead bedroom and your absence. You insulted my income while spending our joint money on hotel rooms with your coworker. So I am dealing with it. You just don't like how I'm dealing with it. That's when Tatiana showed up like a villain in a bad movie. No idea if Blair called her or if she'd been lurking outside listening. But she stormed into Dante's apartment like she was going to rescue the situation. She immediately targeted me with that same self-righteous tone she always used. You're really going to destroy 8 years because she made one mistake? Men cheat all the time and women are expected to forgive them. But when a woman makes one mistake after feeling neglected, it's unforgivable? That's typical male nonsense. Dante interrupted her. Tatiana, you've been divorced 3 times. All 3 times because you cheated on your husbands. You've spent 2 years telling Blair she deserved better than Alan. Don't pretend you weren't orchestrating this whole disaster. Tatiana's face turned red. Her mouth opened and closed. I was supporting my friend's growth and helping her realize her potential as an independent woman. You were projecting your disasters onto her, I said flatly. And now you're mad because she's facing the same consequences you did 3 times. How'd those divorces work out for you financially, by the way? Still paying off the legal fees from number 3? The argument went downhill fast from there. Tatiana screaming about male privilege and the patriarchy. Blair sobbing about second chances and how everyone makes mistakes. Dante holding firm at the door, explaining property law and prenups. Eventually, I just stood up and walked out. Drove around for 2 hours, grabbed food from a drive-thru, didn't return until after midnight, when I knew they'd be gone. Fiona called while I was driving, heard you serve the papers at her office. Publicly. In front of her whole team. I'm so proud of you right now I might cry. Want me to slash your tires now? I've got a knife in my trunk. Still no, I said. But I appreciate your enthusiasm. Patience, she said. The best revenge is served cold and with proper documentation. And you're just getting started. This is going to be beautiful. The next several days brought the expected legal stuff. Blair's attorney contacted Carter immediately. They challenged the tablet evidence, claimed it was obtained illegally. Carter destroyed that argument within an hour. He submitted documentation proving we'd both set up that account together 4 years ago. Then they tried to invalidate the prenup, claimed it was signed under duress, that her father pressured me into signing without proper legal help. Carter produced notarized documentation from the signing, witness statements from 3 people, time-stamped emails where I'd confirmed receiving legal advice. Everything completely airtight. Her dad's attorney had been thorough when drafting it. What killed their position was the infidelity clause. Proven infidelity meant the cheating party kept only premarital assets. No division of the house, no split of accumulated savings, no spousal support. Nothing accumulated during the marriage went to the cheating spouse. Her attorney advised immediate settlement after reviewing everything. She had no options. Litigation would drain more in legal fees than she could possibly recover even in the best case. The math didn't work in her favor. She tried direct contact several times over the next week, texted that she missed me, that she'd made a huge mistake, that she still loved me and we could work through anything. But I didn't buy it for a second, and neither did anyone else who knew the situation. She missed the stability. She missed having someone who maintained her comfortable life while she did whatever she wanted. She didn't miss me. She missed what I provided. 2 weeks after filing, I got a Facebook message from someone named Harper. Didn't recognize the name. The account looked real, but I had no mutual friends. Is this Alan, Blair's ex-husband? I almost ignored it completely. Figured it was some friend of hers trying to guilt-trip me. But curiosity won. Yeah. Who's asking? I'm Raphael's girlfriend. Actually, ex-girlfriend as of yesterday morning. Found old messages between him and your wife on his laptop. Knew he cheated on me before, but didn't realize she was married at the time. Sorry you went through that. He's absolute garbage. We exchanged several messages over the next hour. Turns out Raphael had been cheating on Harper with Blair for months, while telling Harper he was working late or attending conferences. Then when Blair's marriage blew up publicly and became complicated, he immediately moved on to someone else and ghosted both of them. Harper had just discovered everything yesterday morning. She ended it immediately, moved out of his place within 6 hours with help from her brother, who apparently wanted to punch Raphael, but Harper talked him down. She seemed solid from our messages. Straightforward, direct, no games or drama. Had this dark sense of humor about the whole disaster that I found refreshing after months of walking on eggshells. Made jokes about her terrible taste in men and how she should have seen the signs earlier. After about 15 messages back and forth, she texted, "If you want to grab coffee sometime and talk about our terrible exes, I'd be interested. No pressure, though." I agreed. We met at a coffee place near downtown that Saturday afternoon. She's a freelance photographer, mostly commercial work and occasional weddings. Sharp wit, cynical about relationships in a way I found honest. We laughed about how absurd it was that we were sitting there because of those two disasters. One coffee became dinner the following week at a burger place that had been featured on some food show. Then we met for milkshakes after that. Then she came over to see the small house I'd just bought near the plant, a 2-bedroom with a garage I could actually use for projects. We were sitting in my living room talking about photography and welding and whether they had anything in common beyond both involving precision and heat, and she just looked at me directly. "This is weird, right? Us being here?" "Extremely weird," I agreed. "But good weird. Definitely good weird. Now look, I know you're probably going to say this is too rushed, but honestly, it felt easy and comfortable. It was the first time in months I'd felt like I was with someone who actually wanted to be there. She was kind, easygoing, and funny. She actually listened. We'd been seeing each other for about 3 weeks when Fiona invited herself over unannounced one Saturday afternoon. She took one look at Harper and nodded. "I like her. She's a keeper. We're not rushing, just being friendly." "Oh, come on," she smirked. "She's definitely into you." Meanwhile, word apparently spread through mutual connections about Harper and me. Blair's texts shifted from sad and apologetic to angry and accusatory. Started getting messages accusing me of moving on too fast, of deliberately dating Raphael's ex to hurt her, of being vindictive and petty and cruel. I didn't respond to any of them. Just sent screenshots to Carter for documentation in case she tried anything. Then Tatiana got involved because of course she did. She sent me this long message about how I was clearly just using Harper to get revenge on Blair and Raphael, how I was proving that men can't handle women having agency and independence. Standard Tatiana propaganda that blamed everyone but the people who actually cheated. I showed it to Harper. She read it twice. "Want me to respond?" she asked. "Go for it." She typed back without hesitation. "Tatiana, not everything revolves around your disaster friend. Alan and I connected because we both got burned by the same cheaters. The difference is we're moving forward instead of wallowing in drama and blaming men for consequences women caused. Stop projecting your 3 failed marriages onto other people's lives." Then she blocked Tatiana's number on my phone and handed it back. "That work?" she asked. "Perfect," I said. The settlement hearing was scheduled for 5 weeks out. Carter confirmed it would be brief. The whole thing took maybe 30 minutes. The judge reviewed documentation, asked a few standard questions about division of assets, and whether mediation had been attempted. Blair showed up with her attorney, sat across the aisle looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Exhausted, wearing clothes that didn't quite fit right anymore. She signed the settlement without making eye contact once. Didn't try to argue, didn't make a scene, just signed where her attorney indicated. The house was mine. The accumulated savings were mine, except her premarital retirement account that amounted to about $14,000. No spousal support whatsoever, no alimony, no ongoing payments. She left with her car, that retirement account, personal belongings, and whatever she could physically carry out. Nothing accumulated during the marriage went to her. The judge signed off. Done. 8 years dissolved in 30 minutes of paperwork. Walked out of that courthouse feeling like I'd shed 100 pounds of dead weight I'd been carrying around. Harper was waiting outside in the sunshine. "How'd it go?" "Clean sweep," I said. "Everything's done." "Good," she said. "Want to get lunch and celebrate your freedom?" We went to this burger place downtown and spent 2 hours talking about everything except my ex-wife. It felt good, like starting over without the baggage. About 2 months after everything finalized, things escalated in ways I didn't expect. Harper and I had been together for around 4 months at that point, taking it slow, but it felt solid and real. She'd started keeping clothes at my place. We'd fallen into comfortable routines. She'd met some of my coworkers at a plant barbecue. From what I heard through various connections and Fiona's extensive intelligence network, things had gone downhill fast for Blair. Raphael had ghosted her entirely once the divorce finalized, and she became officially available. Tatiana also disappeared once the drama stopped being entertaining and started carrying actual consequences. Stopped responding to Blair's messages, stopped showing up at her place, suddenly had other commitments. Turns out her interest in female empowerment and supporting friends didn't extend to actually helping them through difficult situations she'd helped create. She was fine encouraging Blair to blow up her marriage, but not interested in dealing with the aftermath. Blair was completely alone, had to move into a small apartment across town in a neighborhood she used to mock because she couldn't afford anything better on her own. Her Instagram went from carefully curated professional photos to occasional sad posts about growth and healing and finding yourself. The kind of posts that scream, "My life fell apart, and I'm pretending it's a journey." Then, one Saturday morning, everything blew up in ways I didn't see coming. Harper was at my place making breakfast, wearing one of my old work shirts and looking comfortable in my kitchen. She'd stayed over the night before. We'd watched movies and talked until 2 a.m. about nothing important. I was in the garage organizing tools when I heard someone pounding on my front door. I walked around to the front. Harper had already opened the door, spatula still in her hand. Blair stood there looking unhinged. She looked past Harper and spotted me coming around the corner. Her face went from devastated to furious in half a second. "Are you serious right now? You're with her? In your house? Making breakfast together?" Harper stayed perfectly calm, still holding that spatula. "Hi, Blair. We actually met once at a recruiting event about 8 months ago. Raphael introduced me as his colleague. Funny how that worked out? Small world." Blair's face twisted into something ugly. "This is disgusting. You're doing this to hurt me. Both of you are pathetic." I stepped forward. "I know exactly who she is. Someone who got lied to and cheated on by the same person you cheated with. We have that in common. Shared trauma and all that." "This is sick," Blair said. Her voice was getting louder. "You moved on in like 2 seconds. 8 years together, and you're just over it? You're trying to hurt me." "Actually," Harper said calmly, "not everything is about you. Alan and I connected because we both got burned by the same 2 people. The difference is we're moving forward with our lives instead of showing up at people's houses on Saturday mornings having meltdowns. You should try moving forward instead." Blair completely lost it. Started screaming about how I'd ruined her life, how I'd humiliated her at work, how she'd lost everything because of me. Harper stayed calm, which seemed to make Blair even more mad. Then Blair made a critical mistake. She shoved Harper hard in the chest. Big mistake. Harper, who I'd learned over the past 4 months used to compete in amateur kickboxing tournaments for 3 years and had a 12-3 record, didn't even blink. Just caught Blair's wrist mid-shove. "Don't," Harper said simply. Her voice had this edge that suggested she wasn't bluffing. Blair tried to swing at her with her other hand, apparently committed to the worst decision she'd made all morning. Harper blocked it easily like she was swatting away a mosquito, then swept Blair's legs out from under her in one smooth motion. Blair hit my front porch hard, landing flat on her back with a sound that probably woke up my neighbors. "Get up and leave," Harper said. "Or I call the police and you can explain to them why you assaulted someone on their own property." Blair scrambled up, still screaming. "You beach! How dare you!" She lunged at Harper again, which showed either impressive commitment to bad decisions or complete lack of strategic thinking, probably both. Harper sidestepped easily, grabbed Blair's arm, and used her momentum to pin her face first against my garage door. "We're done here," Harper said. "You're gonna walk to your car, get in, and drive away. Or I'm calling the cops and pressing charges for assault and trespassing. Your choice. Make it quick because my eggs are getting cold." She let Blair go. Blair staggered back, breathing hard, mascara and tears all over her face. She looked at me like she was waiting for me to step in on her behalf, rescue her from the consequences of her own actions. "So what? You're gonna stand there while your beach attack me? You're such a jerk." I just shrugged. "Well, you heard her. Also, you're on my property uninvited. That's trespassing. I'd leave before I decide to call the police myself." She stood there for another few seconds, probably trying to decide if pride or self-preservation mattered more. Self-preservation won. She turned and stumbled to her car, which was parked halfway on my lawn, completely blocking my driveway. Peeled out like she was fleeing a crime scene, left tire marks on the street. Harper turned to me. "Sorry about that. Didn't want to make a scene in your neighborhood, but she shoved me first. That's legally self-defense." "That was the least sorry-looking apology I've ever seen," I said. She grinned. "Yeah, I'm not that sorry. Want to finish breakfast?" Fiona called about an hour later. "Someone recorded that whole thing and sent it to me. Just watched your girlfriend handle your ex-wife on your front porch like it was a casual Tuesday morning. Best thing I've seen in years. I'm getting this framed. Gonna hang it in my living room next to my pharmaceutical sales awards? Please don't, I said. Too late. Already ordered an 8 by 10 print. Might get a canvas version for the office too. You're the worst person I know, I said. And yet you still answer my calls immediately, which means you love me, she said. Tell Harper she's officially invited to Thanksgiving and Christmas. She's family now. A few days later, I got one final text from Blair. Just wanted you to know I'm filing charges against your girlfriend for assault. My lawyer says I have a strong case. Enjoy defending that in court. I forwarded it to Carter immediately, who'd become a permanent fixture in my contacts list at this point. He responded within 10 minutes. Tell her to go ahead. I have video from 3 different neighbors who recorded the entire incident from multiple angles. Shows her starting the physical contact twice, and your girlfriend defending herself proportionally. If she files, I'll countersue for harassment, trespassing, and assault. She won't win. She'll lose money she doesn't have and what little credibility she has left. Forward this exact message to her. I sent Blair's number. Carter's exact response word for word. Never heard from her again after that. 3 months later, Harper and I are still together. She gets me in ways Blair never did or tried to. Doesn't look down on blue-collar work like it's beneath her. Doesn't treat me like a placeholder while she looks for something better. She actually thinks welding is cool. Asks questions about projects. Came to watch me work once and thought it was interesting. Appreciates that I can build things with my hands. Fiona loves her, which is basically the highest endorsement possible in my world. Dante approves completely, which also matters since he's been there through everything. Life's good. Calm. Exactly what I needed after years of walking through a minefield disguised as a marriage. Found out through mutual connections and Fiona's intelligence network that Blair had to move back in with her parents after burning through her savings in 6 months. Turns out expensive apartments and maintaining the lifestyle she thought she deserved required 2 incomes, not inspirational Instagram posts about growth. Who knew? Tatiana's working on divorce number 4 somehow. Found a 4th person willing to marry her despite the obvious pattern and 3 previous disasters. Meanwhile, I'm in my garage welding custom furniture pieces on weekends that people actually pay decent money for. Harper's booking photography gigs consistently, building her client base, doing work she's proud of. We're planning a trip to Colorado in the fall to photograph mountains and maybe do some hiking. Turns out the best revenge is just building a better life than they ever expected you to have. Living well while they spiral. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you find someone who not only understands exactly what you went through, but can also handle themselves when your unhinged ex shows up looking for a fight. Blair wanted me to deal with our dead marriage, so I did. Just not the way she expected. That's how you deal with it. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.